Hey, what's going on? My name is Avi. Thank you so much for joining me today. At some point in your life, you've probably been single. So have I. I've been thinking about those times of my life where I've been single, and I've noticed this pattern in behavior that I'd like to share with you. Maybe you'll find it relatable, maybe you won't, but either way, I hope you'll take away perhaps some interesting lessons from today that you can apply in your life however you see fit. So without further ado, that trend in behavior I've noticed for myself is that when I'm single, I tend to become more hedonistic. Now, what is hedonism or being hedonistic? What does that mean? It means that we tend to become more inclined towards pursuing worldly pleasures. That could mean, like for me, that's binge eating. It could mean alcohol. It could mean doing too many party drugs, cigarettes, weed, porn even, right? You get the idea. Just things we typically associate with vices. I don't think they necessarily have to be vices, but when we become hedonistic, we just tend to gravitate towards these things more often. Now, why is that in the case of being single? I think there's three reasons. And first and foremost, I think on an obvious level, you just have more time, right? When you're single, you're not taking a partner out for dates. You're not spending time with them. You're not texting them. They're not occupying mental bandwidth, right? So you generally just have way more time, energy, and bandwidth being a single person. Now, why does that incline us towards hedonism? Well, you just have more time to do it, first off, right? Like in my case, like I have more time to binge eat. Binge eating happens to take a non-negligible amount of time, right? To consume that quantity of food and prepare the food. Sometimes it can take between an hour and 2 hours if you're talking about also getting the food from the grocery store, etc. There's a lot involved. And also when you have more time, that's more time to ruminate, possibly on the relationship that just ended if you're still getting through the breakup. But even if you're not in the post-breakup stage and you're healed from the breakup, when you have more time, you have more time to ruminate, to think about the past, to feel emotions associated with past burdens. Maybe you're grieving, maybe you've lost someone. And also processing those emotions, having more time to process them, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing either. It just simply is what it is. When it becomes bad is when we don't really allow ourselves to process that emotion, and instead we run from the emotion and then use the hedonistic outlet to mask whatever we're feeling, to numb it and to avoid confronting it, right? So my example would be like, hey, if I had just broken up with someone, I've got a bunch more time on my hands, I'm feeling sadness, I'm feeling grief, maybe I'm feeling some regret, maybe rejection, right? A whole host of difficult emotions in mind and body associated with this relationship ending, and now ruminating on it, right? The emotionally healthy thing to do would be to, one, identify the emotions, to have compassion for oneself, and then also to talk about it with someone if needed. Probably will be needed. Talk about it with a trusted friend, trusted mentor, whoever is there for you. Get their input on the situation, and also just they'll allow you to just kind of vent it out, and they'll provide that warm and loving listener's ear, which is just so critical when we're healing, right? But if we're not being emotionally healthy, which, let's get real, a lot of us aren't, and even those of us who are, we have our moments of weakness and departing from emotionally healthy behavior. Instead of processing the emotion, we'll use that extra time on our hands from being single to then go and indulge in the hedonistic outlet. And that's, that might not always be for the best, right? So back to the original thing, I've noticed this behavior in myself. Like when I'm single, I just have all this time on my hands. It enables the hedonistic outlet, right? Because a lot of them take time. I mean, they all take time by definition, some of them more than others. So the time is the enabling force. But then there's also this extra element of like when you have more time, there can be emotional rumination. There can be time for all sorts of stuff to happen in your mind and body, emotionally and otherwise, that might then impel you to engage in the hedonistic outlet. Boredom is also relevant there, right? If you have a bunch of time on your hands and you're bored, like you just don't have enough stimulation, you might turn to the hedonistic outlet just to get some stimulation, just to get some excitement. Your life just might not be feeling that exciting, that fulfilling. You got all your time, like all this time on your hands, and it's just like, yeah, I don't have much going on right now. Life's just kind of boring. Life's not that exciting. And then all of a sudden drinking sounds great, or binge eating, or whatever your thing is. So that's part number one of why, in my experience, like being single tends to incline me more towards hedonism, which in my case, again, is binge eating. Part two of this is that you don't, like when you're in a relationship, especially the beginning stages, but hopefully throughout the relationship, you want to like look good for this person. I don't just mean in physique. I mean also like in character, right? There's social consequences both in the relationship. Sorry, it's super fucking windy. Both in the relationship and out of the relationship. Fuck, I'm going like this. Here we go. I think that's better. Yeah. Okay. So there's emotional consequences and social consequences for us. Like, let's say if I binge eat a bunch in the context of my relationship, I gain weight. That's not going to be as attractive to my partner, right? Most likely. My physique is not going to look as good to them. That's not going to turn them on as much. This isn't the thing that anyone wants to talk about. It's kind of the elephant in the room, but it's true, right? If your partner met you when you were, let's just say like in between 12 and 15% body fat, and then you go through a stretch of your life where you binge eat a bunch, you put on 20, 30 pounds, like that's definitely going to influence your partner's attraction for you. So therefore, that's a form of social friction. When you're in a relationship, that is a force discouraging hedonistic behavior. And on the other hand, when you're single, you no longer have that social friction. Like you don't have as much, you don't have that reason to not binge eat, or you don't have that reason to also alcoholism, right? Not only could that lead to weight gain, but even if that didn't lead to weight gain, there's also the fear of how our partner will perceive us if we all of a sudden start to overindulge in alcoholism, right? Are they going to get concerned for us? Are they going to be afraid of our behavior while we're drunk? Like are they going to leave us if we become alcoholics, or if we engage too much in that vice, right? So, and this could be said the same of porn, of weed, of anything, right? There's all the fear of how this will impact our partner, how it will impact our partner's view of us, and their desire to continue forward in the relationship. And also, we're going to get to part number three here, but kind of leaking that about like the shared future you have with your partner. So we'll leave that for a little bit later. But sticking with this part number two, it is a big deal. It's a really, really big deal. Like that force of friction, I think, is one of the greatest things about being in a relationship, right? That when you want to look hot for your partner, when you also want to be a person of character for your partner, if you're in a good relationship, you want your partner to see you as a morally scrupulous person. You want them to see you as a person of high character, right? So this discourages overindulgence in our hedonistic vices, whatever they may be. And that's something I've noticed for myself, that when I'm single, I just don't have that person and their opinions of me to serve as a discouraging force on those hedonistic behaviors. So I'm even more likely to binge eat. I'm just like, well, fuck it, dude. I don't care if I gain a few pounds. It's not like I have anyone to be hot for, right? So that's definitely a force to be aware of there. And then the third thing that I'm going to go through here is when you're the notion of a shared future, right? When you're single, obviously, there's no shared future with anyone. Your future is with you. And this is related to two, but it's also distinct. That, like, let's say that you have a partner, right? And you want to have kids with them, right? You're building this life together. That's also going to be a discouraging force from these hedonistic behaviors, because you don't want to model that for your children. You don't want to model it for your future family. So that also in turn serves as a discouraging force, right? You're like, holy shit, like I'm not going to go and, just pound a 6-pack of beer because I don't want my kids to see that, right? So that's all this to say, relationships, in a way, if they're good relationships, again, like not talking about an unhealthy relationship, but if it's a good relationship, it actually discourages hedonism assuming your head's in the right place and you care about what your partner thinks of you, you care about what your kids think of you, you care about the family and the values in your family that you are shaping, that you are influencing. So this is one of the greatest arguments for being in a relationship, or at least a positive one. And on the other hand, it can be tough. I mean, obviously, like when you're single, it's totally possible to be fit and also to not engage in those other vices that are usually self-destructive. It's completely possible to do that, but it is a strike against being single in that regard. I mean, it's just a little bit harder because you don't have these forces of friction dissuading you away from hedonism, right? It's all about behaviors, all about friction, and like making desirable behaviors less frictionful and making undesirable behaviors more frictionful. And in this case, hedonistic behaviors are generally undesirable. We want the friction on those to be high, right? We want there to be high friction towards undesirable behaviors. And the friction of a romantic relationship when you're single is obviously not there anymore. So that friction is no longer there to slow down or put the brakes on those hedonistic behaviors, and you can just be like, well, fuck it, dude, I'm gonna binge eat, or I'm gonna go and smoke hella joints, or I'm gonna just watch a bunch of porn. Like, who cares? Like, I don't have anyone to look hot for. I don't have anyone to worry about what they think of me, to care about their opinion of me. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it's just a kind of a form of nihilism in a way. It's just like regressing and devolving and descending into this really wretched pit of hedonism, because you're like, well, fuck it, dude. I mean, I don't really fucking care. And this is also depression too. It's like, yeah, I don't really fucking care if I do it or indulge, because it's just me. Like, I don't have a partner to worry about. How has this happened for me in my life? Yeah. It's definitely happened to me quite a number of times where, yeah, after getting out of a relationship, I'll just be like, yep, fuck it. I'm going to Safeway and getting a bunch of Ben & Jerry's, and I really don't care what happens. And I've done this so many times now that I kind of just have compassion for myself. I know it's like kind of part of the cycles of life that, yeah, like I'm probably going to gain 5 to 10 pounds after a breakup, because I'm like, okay, I've got all this fucking time on my hands. I've got all these really hard emotions. I don't have anyone to look hot for anymore. I'm not building a shared future with anyone. And I have this means, aka binge eating, to just numb my emotions and not have to deal with them. And I have time to do it, so I'm just going to go do it. So what does all this mean? If you're in a relationship, I would invite you to maybe this could be a gratitude practice for you. I'd invite you to think about how is your relationship helping you not partake in those behaviors as much? Like, how is the presence of your partner in your life, wanting to look good for them, wanting to be a good person for you, but also for them, wanting them to see you as a good person, how is all that discouraging you from partaking in some of your vices? So maybe that can help you have some gratitude for your partner and your relationship. And if you're single, it's a time to check in and ask yourself, how inclined towards hedonism are you right now? When you have this time on your hands, how are you using the time? Are you engaging in meaningful endeavors? Are you allowing yourself to feel your emotions without the need to act on them or to numb them or to run away from them, to avoid them? Or are you kind of just doing that? Are you avoiding them with substances or whatever your hedonistic outlet is? Are you kind of using that to just avoid, and are you using that time for that instead of for other things? And also, if you're single and you're trying to get back into the dating game, that's a good time to remember, like, hey, there is hope. There will be eventually someone that you connect with, that you will be able to look hot for, that you will be able to worry about if they think you're a good person or not, that you will give a shit about their opinion of you. But to get there, it helps to look hot, right? It helps to be a good person, all of those things. So it's kind of a catch-22 in that way, right? It's like, hey, being in a relationship helps you it is a force in the direction of doing less, partaking less in hedonistic things. But also, when you're out of a relationship, it's harder to not do these hedonistic things, right? So you could say by that logic, like, hey, like, get in a relationship so that you have less drive to do these hedonistic things. But in order to do less hedonistic things, you got to be in a relationship. Of course, that's not necessarily true, but you can see how it's kind of a catch-22 in that regard, because being in the relationship helps with reducing the hedonistic tendencies. But there is a workaround. It's not an ironclad catch-22. You absolutely can work around this just by getting in touch with your values and also getting that hope that you will meet someone again. But in order to do it, you got to be hot, get hotter. And I don't mean that in like you're not enough kind of a way. I mean that in like you already are hot and you just need to take the actions that reflect that inner hotness, if you will, and accentuate it. You don't want to do things that destroy you or tear you down or make you feel worse about yourself. It's about saying, hey, like, I'm single right now. I've got a lot of time on my hands. And if you want to find someone and you're dedicated to that, it is the best thing to do, to use that time to invest in yourself, in your learning, in your growth, and becoming more fit and becoming more hot and becoming a better person, serving your community, just becoming the person you want to be, because that's going to attract the person that you want to attract, your dream person. So I think that's it for today. It's just a fun little thing to be aware of if you're single or if you're not. Like, pay attention to how much, like at any given moment, like how much inclination towards hedonism are you feeling? And what steps can you take today to dial your hedonistic radar, if you will, to a level that is acceptable for you? Because I'm not over here preaching, hey, you shouldn't be hedonistic at all. No, it's a personal values choice. There's nothing immoral about hedonism, right? It's not a moral matter. It doesn't make you a good or bad person. It's about finding the amount of engaging with those pleasures that makes sense for you, that is aligned with your values and allows you to still pursue your other life goals unfettered. Yeah. All right, that's it for today. If you like the video, please feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We got more content coming out as always. And with that said, my name is Avi Victor. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Signing off.